Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending FMT Consultants NetSuite webinar, NetSuite in Action, Lead to Order. We've got quite a few attendees. Thank you all for attending. My name is Felipe Jara. I'm the ERP Sales Manager with FMT, and with me is Paul Clayton, Senior Director of Consulting Services. We've got an excellent agenda for you today. We're going to go into a little bit about FMT. Paul will speak about overall the trends in the business technology shift between client-server on-premise technology to cloud solutions. And then Paul will go into the NetSuite overview, lead to capture, lead to order, order to cash, and reporting and dashboards. So a little bit about FMT before we get started. There's several people that on the webinar that have worked with us in the past, but for those who haven't, we just celebrated our 20th year in business. We've got over 1,000 projects successfully completed across all our practices and over 275 clients in the US and Canada. We're now approaching 70 employees, team members across our HQ office in Carlsbad in LA, and that number is rapidly growing. As far as our practices, we've got an ERP division, which is NetSuite, Dynamics GP, and SAP Business by Design, as well as Microsoft CRM, a strong practice in project management, collaboration in portals, business intelligence, financial planning and analysis, corporate performance management, as well as custom development. In a nutshell, we're an integrator that can handle many needs, and we try to make the technology work together. Some things that we're proud of, especially the San Diego Business Journal, Best Places to Work in 2013 and 2015. To us, it validates that we're hiring the right people and putting together a corporate culture that means excellent satisfaction for our customers as far as service. What makes us stand out, what makes us different than other system integrators and local partners in the area? I think in a nutshell, it's the fact that we've got over 20 years, again, our track record of successful projects, our customer care department of 13 full-time consultants that from a technical, functional, and business practice, best practice level across the ERP platforms and the other practices provide excellent service for our customers, experienced employees, W-2, and our ability to customize and integrate these applications to make them communicate together, in our eyes, makes us a strong partner for our clients. And without further ado, let me turn it over to Paul Clayton. Paul, again, is our ERP practice director and focuses on the NetSuite division. Paul's been with us for 15 years now. Paul, take it away.
All right, thanks, Felipe. Appreciate the introduction. Just a kind of a recap on the agenda. Felipe covered off FMT and a little bit about what we're all about. We'll talk about some of the business technology shifts we've been seeing out there in the business world today, and then we can jump into NetSuite a little bit and see NetSuite in action. As Felipe mentioned, we'll talk about lead capture, a couple of the key processes, showing how we can introduce leads into NetSuite, do the lead to order process, order to cash, and then take a look at a few reports and dashboards. We'll be looking at dashboards kind of as we go along, as we're moving through the different roles that we're logging into NetSuite as. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining the webinar today. I see some folks out there that I haven't seen in a while, and very excited to be with those folks again today. All right, well, let's jump in. So the technology shift that we've been seeing, as consultants, we're out there in the business world quite a bit. We see lots of business models and different companies and the way they conduct their models. So, obviously, over the past several years, you can call it probably 5 to 8 years, we've seen a shift, and that shift has been more significant in the recent years, in the last 2 to 3, relative to just the way businesses are maintaining their systems and adapting systems that are flexible and will adapt to the business models as they change for a given business. So what are we seeing there? We're seeing more client-server migrations to cloud-based systems. So really less of the client-server installations because companies are opting for that cloud-based solution, allowing their resources to be utilized and allocated in different areas of the organization. Because they're not having to maintain multiple on-site or on-premise servers and work through upgrades and those types of things. They're really relying upon that cloud-based application to help them run their business and efficiently utilize their resources. So what are some of those drivers of the change that we're seeing? So let's talk about some of those drivers. So obviously any company that's out there today is always looking for ways to increase productivity. So really looking at unified solutions or unified systems to be able to do that. With less integration between your core, say, ERP systems and your line of business systems, that's less worry in terms of being able to make sure that you've got a single source of truth. So really giving your folks the ability to be more productive and to be more efficient relative to using their system. Systems that are scalable. So as I mentioned, business models, they change from time to time, even within the same business. So we need a solution that grows with the company and that is flexible enough to change when the business models of the company change. Other drivers of change, mobility. So we have more and more folks these days working in different locations. We experience this as FMT consultants. We have consultants that are mobile, and I'm sure we have there are lots of other companies out there that want to really be logging into their system at any given point in time, that they know they can get into that system, whether they're in one browser type or another, or whether they're utilizing one device or another, whether that be a tablet, a phone, or any kind of other device like a laptop. Other drivers we're looking at versionless solutions. So this works along the lines of the upgrades that folks experience with either hosted applications or on-premise applications. So every call it 2.5 to 3 years, the traditional on-site solutions will have to be upgraded, and there's cost in doing that. So with your cloud-based solutions, that's much less disruptive in terms of the business, and just happens relative to one week your folks are working in one version, and obviously there's planning and that kind of thing that happens, but when you come in the next week, your solution is just upgraded to the latest version, and by being on the latest version, that means you're getting that latest functionality. So what do we see in the current landscape? So I've alluded to that a little bit already. It's really lots of isolated systems that are out there. If you want, you could refer to them as departmental silos, solutions that have been built up over time and connected via some type of integration through middleware or other custom applications to be able to integrate your accounting system to your web store, or your accounting system to your CRM or your marketing applications. You might have a desktop support solution that you're working with that you're having to bolt on to your accounting system to track and to potentially bill for incoming support requests. So a lot of isolated solutions that are connected through integrations, and those integrations obviously need attention, and they need resource support in order to make sure they're running efficiently and they're up all the time. So with the product we'll talk about today, which is NetSuite, you've got more of a unified solution, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that really runs on a single database platform. With NetSuite combining its integrated platform with NetSuite Financials, CRM, Ecommerce. There's several other components of the application that you don't see here on this slide, but you have other things like services resource planning or project accounting, if you will. And then there's other platforms that we can lay into this as well one of them called NetSuite One World, which allows for multi-subsidiary environments or companies to come into NetSuite and to be able to manage those subsidiaries or those separate legal entities as one single unit, and if need be, roll up the financial reporting into a consolidated unit as well. Another nice thing about NetSuite is not only does it support the roles that you see on the screen here, but it has what we call portals or different centers that we can allow the partners of our business, the customers of our business, the vendors and suppliers of our business to log into. And by giving them that access, it enables them to, if you're a customer, to be able to log in and see the status of a sales order, or to see the status of an invoice, or to log a support call. If you're a supplier, you can get in there and you can give indication that a PO has been shipped, or it's been fulfilled and shipped and it's coming your way. If you're a business partner, there's ways to get in and if you're a partner as it relates to the sales portion of the organization, maybe an outside sales rep or something like that, you can get in there and see your specific sales information relative to your sales orders, your leads, or other entities that transactions that you might be managing. So really, it's we see an overall solution that is integrated into a single source of the truth, which, as you can see, would improve collaboration because we're all seeing the same thing, whether we're the shipping manager or we're the CEO or we're the support team. Okay, well, let's jump into NetSuite and actually kind of see how things flow within that application. I'm not sure if Felipe mentioned it, but any questions that the team may have, the participants may have, we can certainly, we've got a chat window, so we'll probably save looking at that chat window and addressing those questions until the end of the session. But for right now, let's kind of jump into NetSuite and look at the lead to order process. So bear with me while I bring that up. Okay, so most of you now should be seeing, or all of you should be seeing, the NetSuite desktop or the NetSuite dashboard, if you will. When you log into NetSuite, NetSuite is really a role-based application. So depending upon your permissions and who you are, you'll log into NetSuite and you'll see certain things relative to your permissions and your daily responsibilities. So here we're logged in. You can see up at the top right-hand corner as a sales rep with the sales rep role. So then I've got several other roles that are set up that we'll be using throughout our walkthrough to see what different functions are available through different roles. Just a couple things relative to the navigation of NetSuite. When you log on, everybody, no matter what your role is, you have your dashboard, and this is really what you log into. The dashboard contains portlets, and the portlets are really the sections that you see here within the dashboard. So here I have what's called a reminders portlet. Here I have my navigation portlet. These are customizable portlets, so if I wanted to move things around or if I wanted to customize this portlet specific to to what I want to see, I can certainly do that. There are controls around that to where if you want to roll out a base dashboard to the organization for a specific role, you can also do that and not allow a whole lot of change there if it's something that you would prefer to lock down for that specific role. Okay, so those individual sections are called portlets. There's some other components of the dashboard that really make NetSuite efficient. Up at the very top, there's a global search. So if you're looking for, something relative to, a Jennings contact or a customer or that kind of thing, you can actually pull up your customers or your leads or contacts that have Jennings in them. So that's called global search. That really just takes you right to where you're going as quickly as you can type it in. So if you're looking for a specific sales order number and you know that sales order number, you can type that sales order number in and get right to it in both a view or edit mode, again, depending upon your permissions in the application. Okay, so there's lots of functionality there. In terms of being able to navigate to different screens, you have drop down and roll right menus up here at the top. So depending upon what you're doing, again, you just roll right and you can head on over to the either the entity or the master record or the transaction that you're looking for. And each one of these, again, will look a little bit different based on your role. Everybody's got a home to head back to your dashboard. We can set preferences relative to how we want to see certain things. So how we want to see the date, or how we want to see phone numbers, or how we want to see different things within NetSuite. Can set those preferences. We have favorites, so if we have shortcuts that we're hitting on a regular basis, we can certainly set those up and navigate right to them from our shortcut setup. And then we have something called recent records. Recent records is kind of handy. This is something that is sort of a breadcrumb trail in terms of the transactions or the master record entities or whatever I've actually done very recently within the application by role. I can go back to my recent records and I can jump right back into sales order 72 or this activity that I posted against a particular prospect or lead. So recent records, very handy, just like global search up here. Just kind of those are two things that really help you navigate through the application very quickly. Okay, so let's get into kind of the lead to order process and maybe kind of how leads can be introduced into NetSuite. Obviously, we can type a lead into NetSuite. If we're a sales rep and I've got a new lead, I can come in and I can go to the lead entry form and I can create a lead very easily right from the entry form. I'd like to talk about a little bit more interesting way to get leads into NetSuite, to demonstrate that unified solution or that unified platform that shows us integration between NetSuite's e-commerce product called SuiteCommerce and the NetSuite back office, the ERP application itself. Again, showing that single platform. So what I'm going to do is jump over here into my roles, and I'm going to head into the e-commerce manager role. So the e-commerce manager role will bring up my dashboard. With the e-commerce manager role, if we've got SuiteCommerce included in your solution, you'll see all kinds of things relative to the e-commerce dashboard in terms of key performance indicators relative to cart abandonment, web orders, website hits for today. Lots of different statistics. Most of these canned. We can just set them up right out of the box as we begin processing transactions and introducing activity into the solution. One of the things I like to do is go down to the preview website. So as an e-commerce manager, I'm going to go take a look at how my website is looking. So I'm going to preview that site, and that'll just actually take me into the actual website that I have set up in SuiteCommerce. So again, fully integrated relative to what you're seeing here in terms of the images and the layout. That's all configurable within the NetSuite application and then renders itself onto the website page that we're looking at today. All right, so if I go into company and I go to my contact us, this actually launches something that's quite interesting. It's called a online customer form within NetSuite. So this form has been configured again within NetSuite to include these different fields. And there's lots of other fields that we can include. I'll show you just a brief layout of this in just a minute. But this is one way that we can get this lead into our system. So if we have somebody who has recently attended a seminar or has recently attended a trade show of ours, we can direct them through whatever means into the Contact Us form, and they can process their information, which will actually create a lead within NetSuite. In this case, I've got somebody who, let's say, has attended one of our trade shows. He's gotten a coupon for a discount on his first purchase only, maybe a 10% discount on his first purchase. So he's come in here. We've directed him to this area on our website. We want to collect his information. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. So we're going to call him Sam Street. But I'm not going to put his last name in the first name column. I'm going to put his last name in the last name column. Let's say Sam is from Street Electronics. His industry that we have is the electronics industry, and we'll get his email going. So Sam at sselectronics.com. Let's get an address in there for Sam. We'll just go with something like Ames Avenue. City, we're going to do San Diego, and I'm going to let some of this other information autofill. I guess I'll change the phone number here. And Sam can put in a message if he'd like. He's also got a promo code on a card that he got from the trade show, so he's going to put that promo code in there, which I've already kind of pre-entered. And then he's going to submit his information. So once Sam submits his information, that's actually going to generate a lead within the NetSuite application. One thing to note, I am using the Ecommerce website here, but the contact us or the different types of online customer forms that can be configured within NetSuite can also be presented to external websites or websites that you're running on different platforms, such as Magento or other types of platforms, and we can expose that through an iframe. So it doesn't have to be the NetSuite platform that we're using. We can actually expose these online customer forms through other means. All right, so if we go back into the NetSuite application, I'm going to log back in as my sales rep because my sales rep is the one who actually is going to address this particular lead. So if we come in here and we jump in and we refresh our reminders portlet, we see that we have one new lead. So we can jump in here and say, okay, Street Electronics, we got Sam, he's processed his information through our form, and we want to go ahead and view his information relative to what he's entered in the system. So I, as a sales rep, know that I've got a lead. We can set up NetSuite to notify the sales rep that a new lead is in the system. We can set sales rules associated to the rep's territory to make sure that if a lead comes in based on the rule that applies to that lead, it gets routed to the appropriate salesperson. So here we've got Street Electronics set up as a company already within NetSuite. We've got a contact associated to Street Electronics. We've got Sam Street. We can see some of the information relative to Sam's initial entry into our system as a lead. We know that he came from the electronics retail trade show. Well, how do we know that? Because we actually led him to one of the online customer forms that we've associated to that specific event, the electronics retail trade show. So he was able to come in and when he went to that specific form that again is associated to that event, we were able to trace where he was actually, where this lead was actually originated. We can see kind of number of visits, date of first visit, information relative to the last page you visited, click streams, how did he move through our particular site, as it relates to his navigation and when he was in the site. Again, which campaign or which event is he associated to, which we're capturing on our online form. And then we can see, based on our online form, we know that it was our, quote, contact us form that we set up that he actually entered his information into. So this gives us a really good idea of how he got there. If I switch over to the administrator role real quick, I'm just going to give you just one real quick insight of how that all happens. So if we go look at our online customer forms that I've been talking about, I can come into the contact us form, and it can see these are all the different fields that we are capturing on our online customer form, our contact us online customer form. I can edit that and I can add more fields if we want to capture more information. We can set up workflow, as I mentioned, for that online customer form so that lead comes into NetSuite with a status of new. And then we can set what event on that form we're interested in tracking against that particular form. And then if we want to send email notifications to the sales rep and that kind of thing. So this, again, just wanted to give everybody sort of a quick idea of how we capture that information as that lead gets pushed into NetSuite. So let's jump back in as our sales rep, because at this point it's time for us to make sure that we're managing that lead. So we can come in here, we can actually do some things in the system relative to tracking our communication for this particular lead. So we may now go ahead and reach out to this lead and start the process of making sure that we get our sales order and we get the need or the demand of that particular potential customer satisfied. You can see in the system they're still set as a status of lead new, but as we progress through the process of issuing a sales order and processing that sales order, that status will change to a customer. I'm kind of skipping the whole opportunity and estimate side of things as well, but we can also incorporate that whole process into what we're doing today. I'm just happen to be moving straight into the processing of the sales order. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So I can come over to my Communications tab. Communications tab is very handy because I can log any of the activities that I'm doing within NetSuite. I may have had a phone call with Sam where I obtained a purchase order number. So I'm going to say I obtained the purchase order number from him. If I got any other messages here that I want to document, maybe my PO was such and such, I can certainly do that and save that out. Now that gets recorded as an activity against that particular lead within that within the system. We can also come over here and we've got emails integration. So we can come in and we can say, all right, for Sam, we want to shoot out a message just thanking him for the PO. So we can do that and just let him know that we're going to get his, we'll get your order processed ASAP. All right. So I spell my own name right. There we go. So we can actually send that email off. That email gets, again, recorded in here as an event. So as we start to build that activity on that lead, we can see that we're emailing him, we're phone calling him, we're tagging certain things, we're showing where he came from. So we can see the history of how we've interacted with this particular lead or customer or whatever entity. That Communications tab is on any entity within the system that we're or transaction with the system that we're working on. So in the process of doing that, so I got an email that integrated out to my Outlook that says we'll get your order processed ASAP. If Sam comes back and he replies and says, okay, that's great. So there we go. I get my typing down, and he sends that off. Now that email communication will actually get incorporated into NetSuite as well. So if we go ahead and we refresh that, I can see here that we've got the response from Sam saying, "Okay, that's great. I'm glad you're processing my my order." All right. So now that we've got our communication out of the way and we've got our PO, we can actually come over here to our Documents button, and these are configurable. So you can see we have several things I can create as new from the particular lead. In this case, like I said, I'm going to skip the opportunity and estimate process. But if we did, we actually, or wanted to, if our process included sending out an estimate for Sam to review and approve, I could create that estimate, attach it to an email. Sam reads it, he responds and says this estimate is approved. So we have a very simplistic way of being able to review and approve estimates and then documenting that within the system. Here I'm just going to go straight to a sales order. So I select my sales order and it brings up the sales order information or sales order transaction screen. Automatically assigns it a sales order number, puts the customer in there, doesn't put the PO number in there, so I got to type my PO number in there, whatever it was that Sam gave to us. Sets a default location. We can change that if we want to. We can associate sales orders with jobs within NetSuite. And one thing to keep in mind, this is a very configurable screen. So assuming I have the permissions, I can come in here and I can move things around. There's a lot of fields that are on this form that you're not seeing, that are not visible currently, and there's a lot of fields on here that we can hide if we don't feel that they're necessary forms in order to be able to transact. If we did have an opportunity, we would have that opportunity shown here. That this, the sales order was actually coming from. Again, we're associating our sales order that we've got to our electronics retail trade show, so we can start to analyze some of the return on investment relative to this trade show that we're putting on. The sales rep responsible for this particular transaction, and then we can come down and get our sales order built out. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add Sam was very interested in one of our 3D printers. So I'm going to add that printer as a line item, and again, as we mentioned earlier, unified system. We would have seen if we came to it on the Ecommerce site that we had for this product. We had 94 that are available in the warehouse. Sam is going to order 2. We can default price levels, so there's a lot of functionality relative to different price levels. I'm just going to use list price. NetSuite calculates out the extended amount, and we can add that item to the order. We can indicate billing and shipping information relative to billing address, shipping address, multiple bill to addresses, multiple ship to addresses. Just have to select the one that you're going to be using for that particular transaction from a shipping perspective if there are multiple. And once we've done that, we can go ahead and save our transaction. The permissions within NetSuite will allow you to do certain things on certain transactions, right? In this case, I was able to create and edit, I just combined two words there, create and edit this particular transaction. But if I had increased permissions, I would have, the ability to do, different things. Maybe, it's more of an admin, so therefore I can see more about this transaction, and I can do more with this transaction relative to my permissions. If I only had a role that allowed me to view sales orders, then I wouldn't have things like the edit button up here on the sales order. I wouldn't have things like the fulfill button, because I'm only allowed to really view that transaction and I can't do anything else with it. So in terms of the role-based functionality across, again, any entity, form, screen, master record, transaction within NetSuite, very detailed and very specific functionality relative to the security and how you're accessing and what you can do with those documents or master records. Okay, so now I've got my sales order here. I've set it up. I got my I got everything set. I can actually come back into the activities tab, and I really would like to email off this sales order to Sam, so I can hit the email button. I can throw a message together that says, I'm sending out your order. Put in some information relative to the body of that email. From an attachment perspective, I can include the transaction. In this case, let's say we want to send it off as a PDF. So then we send that sales order over to Sam, just to let him know that we've got that processed. We can set up other workflow or other automatic notifications within NetSuite. So as we move into doing different things with this sales order, such as item fulfillment, we can also automatically email Sam and let him know what the process is within that, or for that transaction. Okay, so we got our email noted there, and we're ready to go. Okay, so we've got sales order number 786 out in the system. We did get a notification, or Sam got a notification, I'll pull it up there, that his sales order has been processed and is in the system now. He can actually pull up that sales order. So if we got, hopefully everybody sees on the screen the PDF that I've just pulled up. So this is what Sam opened. He was actually able to see, based on that code that we entered, I think you all remember that promotional code that Sam entered when he was putting his contact information in on the Contact Us form. That code allowed him for a 10% discount on his first purchase. So he's getting $300 off of this particular transaction. So therefore you see the discount down there on the sales order that we've sent to him. Okay. And then you also see that in the system where he's getting a discount of $300. Okay, so now it's really time for our warehouse to fulfill this sales order. We can institute other processes within the application. I'm keeping it pretty simple today, but if we wanted to institute an AR, accounts receivable team review of that sales order before our warehouse team fulfills that sales order or generates the item fulfillment transaction, we can certainly do that. There's out-of-the-box approval workflow that is very straightforward and simplistic in terms of doing an AR review for, say, a sales order. And then there's also other functions within NetSuite, one of them called SuiteFlow. And SuiteFlow is really NetSuite's workflow engine, which allows for more customized workflow to take place. So if we wanted to actually route this sales order to certain folks, or we wanted to build in a more sophisticated routing policy to get the sales order approved, we would leverage NetSuite's SuiteFlow to do that. And NetSuite's SuiteFlow engine is included with the product when you purchase the product. So it's not something that you're buying separately. It's just something that has to be configured if you decide to go outside the realm of the out-of-the-box NetSuite workflows. Okay, so we've got a sales order in the system, sales order number 76. I'm going to go ahead and jump over into my warehouse operations role. So the warehouse operations team is seeing their dashboard now when they log into NetSuite. NetSuite, as I don't know if I've got anybody on the in the webinar today that has an extremely sophisticated warehouse operation, but keep in mind, I'm kind of doing everything within the system today. But NetSuite has the capability to interact with third-party products from an RF gun or RF scanning standpoint. A couple of those products, one is called Ozlink, O-Z-L-I-N-K, and another one's called RF Smart. Both of those products interface with NetSuite so that your team out in the warehouse can interact with the system through scanning guns. So they're able to pull up orders that need to be fulfilled on the actual gun, select that sales order, and then begin the fulfillment process or partial fulfillment process of a particular sales order. So they run through that whole pick, pack, and ship process without having to go into NetSuite and actually transact within NetSuite. The gun helps them do all of that. Right, so in this case, we're logged in as a warehouse operations role. She's going to come over to her orders to fulfill, and then we're able to see the different orders that are ready to fulfill. We've got lots in this list here. I can sort that down by sales order number. I've got to come up here and set a few things relative to the original values that were on that sales order. So we know that it was for sales order. It was for site 100. And it was, I believe, sales order 786, so we can put that in here, and we've refreshed, and we can pull up order 786, or we can come down here, and we can actually just find our sales order through Street Electronics. So we've got that listed down here. As you can see, this screen or this particular window allows you to bulk fulfill, right, at more of a batch level. So I can select all of the transactions that I want to actually fulfill through this screen right here, so that I'm fulfilling multiple sales orders at once. I can come over here and I can indicate the quantities that I'm going to fulfill. So if you only want to fulfill partial quantities on certain sales orders, we can do that. NetSuite also has interaction with FedEx and UPS, so it can go out there and it can shop the rate relative to your FedEx carrier or your UPS carrier in contract, and pull those FedEx charges right into your item fulfillment transaction and onto the invoice. So down here we've got Street Electronics. That's the one we're actually going to go ahead and fulfill. And again, if I was fulfilling more sales orders, I would check more of those transactions. So we're just doing that one right now. So here we go. So we got a couple orders that I had fulfilled already earlier today, but we've got this one in process. NetSuite kind of pulls up this queue and lets you know, okay, I'm working through fulfilling your sales orders and processing those transactions in the background. As I'm doing that, if need be, if your system's set up such, we can actually set automatic emails to say that, hey Sam, your order has actually been fulfilled. So this one has gone out to Street Electronics to let them know that we've fulfilled your order, and here's some of the details around that fulfillment. Okay, so if I refresh this, now we can see that the system has fulfilled our order. So that process is complete, and it generated item fulfillment transaction number 617. Okay, I'm going to log in, or I'm going to kind of navigate to that item fulfillment transaction just so folks can see what that looks like. So there's different statuses relative to our fulfillment transaction. So if we have more of a pick, packed, and shipped process that we want to track relative to our item fulfillment or our warehouse processes, we can enable that within the system. This status just went directly for this item fulfillment transaction to shipped. But again, I can set that, have that set as picked, and then We can go pick and stage our product. I can go ahead and pack that product and then indicate within the system on this item fulfillment transaction that it's been packed. And then once it actually is picked up and shipped off with the carrier, come back into the item fulfillment transaction and set that status as shipped. Okay, so we've got our package actually processed. It was processed with our FedEx carrier, so we're good to go there. You can see here that, again, I'm in as a warehouse operations role, so I can edit this transaction because my permissions allow me to, but from there I can't really do anything else. So I can't bill this transaction. I can't change it into an invoice. I have to log in as another role in order to be able to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and log in as my AR Clerk role. There we go, AR Clerk. So as I've mentioned, we definitely have the initial login for each one of these roles, a specific dashboard for each role. So the reminders dashboard being a big part of what we do each day, letting us know, from an AR Clerk perspective, what sales orders are out there to bill, what customers we actually have to invoice if it's not related to a sales order, invoices to print, some that are overdue, and different types of information that we have in the system. Key performance indicators, again, by role, we've got key performance indicators that we can show the team so that we can manage our performance as we're moving through. AR aging, so we can certainly pull in a portlet that helps us see our AR aging, where things are falling in terms of the buckets, and to be able to get a quick view of, say, our top 10 or our top 20 customers, depending on the size of the portlet that you want for that particular report. Okay, so here I know I've got some sales orders to bill because I just processed one. And by the way, that customer, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but Street Electronics started out as a lead, right, within our system. So we processed them through the online customer form, came in as a lead. Now that we've actually generated a sales order and fulfilled that sales order, that customer, if we go back to that customer card, the status is now set to customer. And that really happened once we actually generated and saved the sales order. So NetSuite actually will, there's a process that we can configure to where it will promote those leads and maybe the lead to prospect and the prospect to customer. Again, just depends on the process that fits your organization or your business model. But if we were going through the, say the opportunity and estimate and sales order process, we would actually utilize the lead to prospect to customer, as opposed to going like we did straight from a lead to a customer, because we just went ahead and processed the sales order. Okay, so now we're going to bill our sales orders. Again, if you've got the permissions, you could go straight to that particular sales order, and you might have a bill button right on that sales order and be able to bill that transaction right from the sales order, kind of doing it one at a time. I've come into a screen where I've got a queue of sales orders that I know that need to be billed within the system, or that I can drill back on and I can review first and then come in and say that I need to bill that particular sales order. Anytime you see that hyperlink, that means I can drill right back into the transaction that I'm looking at. In this case, relative to the invoice, if I want to drill back on it, I can. So I'm going to select the invoice for Street Electronics that we need to generate, and I'll submit that request. NetSuite will think a little bit about that, and we'll, once we refresh, have that invoice generated. It might take a little bit for that to happen. So that process is complete. We can click on that and say, okay, and see that for sales order number 786, we've generated invoice 309-2056. We can drill right back into that invoice, do a review of it. Any edits that may need to be made to that invoice, we can certainly do that. As you can see, I'm the AR clerk, so I've got a little bit more functionality. Rather than just being able to view that invoice, I can edit it. I can accept payments against it. I can even authorize a return. So NetSuite has that functionality relative to authorizing an RMA, a return authorization, so that we can get this product back and either credit or replace the product as needed. So this really allows us, a lot of flexibility in terms of how that process needs to work. So again, we can do it right here from the invoice based on the role. We can go up to our role right menus that I was showing you guys earlier, and under transactions, we can issue a return authorization transaction and process it that way as well. So lots of different ways to do the different things we need to do within NetSuite. You can see here I've got my discount that's followed all the way through from the sales order, really from the lead, because at the point at which we entered that lead, the lead entered that promotion code when we were on the online form, the contact us form. So we've got our discount reflected in there, so everything looks good relative to this particular transaction. So in terms of it's probably not a great place to show it here, but every transaction has a related transactions button on it. So if I was to go back to the sales order and we were to hit that related transactions sublist, then we would or submenu, we would actually see the item fulfillment transaction, and we'd see this invoice transaction. So lots of different ways that the transactions are linked, so we see the full story relative to that original transaction. Okay, so if we come in here, we can also go back to, I'll use my global search I was talking about earlier. Type in Street Electronics, we can jump over into either the contact or the customer. I'd like to jump into the customer. And if we come down here, we can see the transactions associated to that customer as well. We can actually filter what we want to see down here as well, because that list will get pretty big, but we can see that we processed a sales order, an item fulfillment transaction, and also an invoice. So again, we can jump right into those transactions right from here. So let's do that. Let's actually go into that invoice and accept payment for it. So the product got to Sam, he was happy with it, he cut a check, and now we've got a cash receipt that we have to process. So again, we can either do that through a cash receipt and apply process that is available on a screen called Accept Customer Payment within NetSuite, or I can initialize that right here from the invoice as well. So I'm going to click on that Accept Payment button, and what that's going to do is create another payment record within NetSuite, shows me some balance information, shows me different information relative to invoices, credits, and deposits that I already have out on the account that I may want to apply to this transaction. Since I initialized the payment right from that transaction, right from that invoice that we were looking at, NetSuite is assuming that I'm going to apply this payment to that particular invoice. So it checks that box ahead of time for you. Allows you to come in here and also set a payment method. So if we were processing a credit card, we could do that. NetSuite interfaces with a couple different credit card gateways, those really being CyberSource as well as eMerchant Solutions. Those are really the two main ones that NetSuite interfaces with. So I can put in my check number that I received and jump back into my apply window. I've got my check number recorded, I've got my payment recorded, so we save off that transaction, make sure it's in the right posting period with the right date, and we're good to go. Now that payment has actually been applied. We can let NetSuite deposit that transaction right into our cash account if we need to do that, or we can push that transaction or that payment into the undeposited funds account. To where we can, at the end of the day or at the end of the week, evaluate those particular transactions that are in our undeposited funds, aggregate them, and go ahead and deposit our daily deposit into the bank, into our account. So that moves it from the undeposited funds into our checking account. So a couple different functions there that we can leverage, again, based on a specific requirement for the business. Okay, so that's kind of taken us through that whole process of kind of lead to order, and kind of took it a little bit further in terms of order to cash. One thing that we may want to just quickly talk about is this was all associated to this all happened because of a trade show that we put on. So if I'm the marketing director, I may be pretty interested in terms of what my return on investment is for that particular event. So we come in here, we can generate some campaign or some sales campaign or marketing campaign ROI analysis. If I launch this particular report, I can see that under my referrals category, I've got my electronics trade show. So giving me some information relative to cost, revenue, and profit, where we're at from an ROI perspective. I can drill in from this report and pick up some other information. So it takes me to that master record for that particular campaign, and now I can start to see some statistics. I can see that I've got 17 folks that have pinged me on this. I've got 92 leads that were generated from it, the number of times somebody purchased based on those leads, and then other information relative to cost and profitability of that particular event. So lots of function relative to the marketing and sales campaigns that you're processing. We can also do different things with these campaigns relative to email distributions, target audiences, that type of thing, so we can really be effective as far as initializing our campaigns. Okay, so I think that about takes us through our process relative to NetSuite and what we wanted to look at today. So let me jump back into our PowerPoint and just kind of recap where we were. So we saw NetSuite, we saw it as a unified business system, right? I was in NetSuite, I was in the platform for the entire show. So we wanted to make sure that everybody understood that this is a unified platform, and we were able to see how we leveraged Suite Commerce to capture that lead as a lead entry point and pushed it into the system. We actually used the online customer form, the contact us form, to do that. We initialized the automated workflow against that form. So when I opened up the form, we could kind of see how it was that we had configured that form against the electronics trade show and where we wanted that that lead to go. And what we wanted to happen in terms of sales rep notification, that we wanted an automatic email sent over to the sales rep once that lead was processed. Went through the lead to order scenario. So we saw that, well, we didn't see, but I explained that the customer status was updated once we processed a sales order against that lead. We created and fulfilled that sales order through our item fulfillment transaction. And then we moved over into our AR clerk role and generated an invoice and accepted a payment against that transaction. So we were able to kind of see our dashboards throughout this process, and we jumped into a little bit of campaign reporting at the very end there to see that we could start to analyze some of the statistics that have been gathered up relative to transactions against that campaign. Okay, so I think we're about to the end of our presentation. There are a couple questions in the queue, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and read off a few of those questions. So the first one is, what is the capability to support the customer after they receive their product? Do we have RMAs or that kind of thing? So yeah, there's actually lots of functionality relative to NetSuite that allows supporting the customer after they receive their product. So some of those include the return authorization transaction that we saw a bit earlier today. Other functionality includes the warranty and repair management module. So this is a bundle that's free that gets installed as long as you have advanced inventory within NetSuite, and you can actually track the warranty information and allow the system to generate really that link between the initial sales transaction and the warranty claim that you're producing once somebody submits a request for a return, and it's something that's covered under warranty. So there's that functionality. There's also case and issue management within NetSuite. So if we wanted to open up a specific case and then relate that case to a transaction within the system, we can do that, and we can, through most of these features, track the failure reasons to try and get some trend analysis in terms of what's happening and why we're getting those requests to return product. Another question, can customers see their orders? So customers can see their orders. If we remember kind of jumping back into our slide deck, it was the slide that talked about how we can interface with our customers. So within NetSuite, there are portals that our customers can log into, our vendors and our partners can log into. So at the very top there, we've got our customer. He or she could log into the customer portal, and then we give them access based on what we want them to see. But some of the things they can see there are sales orders, and they can make payments, they can do different things within the customer center, the customer portal. So that's very easy to set up and kind of comes right out of the box with NetSuite. Do we have any other questions? I'm scrolling through. Just bear with me for 1 minute.
Oh, we've got a question about NetSuite taking the place of QuickBooks, or would they interact?
Well, typically, thanks, Felipe. Typically, within our our experience, NetSuite will typically take the place of QuickBooks. Certain businesses, as they're running on QuickBooks, tend to scale themselves through their growth out of the QuickBooks application. So in that situation, we certainly would propose a solution within NetSuite to address all the functionality and capabilities that they're currently using within QuickBooks, and then design a solution that would scale and grow with the business within NetSuite. So thanks for that, Felipe.
No problem, Paul. And we've got one more here. It's does NetSuite have a Google Analytics integration?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess that's one I probably would have to get back to somebody on. NetSuite has its own analytics module called Suite Analytics, giving us the ability to do a lot of different, generate a lot of different saved searches or different queries, and produce KPIs and produce different reports. Those reports can be published to the dashboards of various roles. But in terms of integration with Google Analytics, I haven't seen that, so I don't believe there is an integration. But that's certainly something that that we can look into, and if we have the individual who asked that question, we can respond directly to that individual. Sorry, I don't have the answer for you right off the bat on that one.
Yeah, and folks, thank you so much for the questions. It looks like we've got about 60, but we only have a few minutes, so we'll do our best to reach out to you offline and answer your individual questions via email. So, Paul, I think that concludes our time. Do you have any other follow-up for us, Paul?
I think that's it. Again, I want to really thank everybody for joining us today. Up on your screen is Felipe's information. I've got Martin Jan's information up there as well. Martin is our NetSuite practice manager, and then my information too. So I would love to hear from the folks who attended the webinar today, and again, really appreciate your time. Okay, well, for Felipe and Martin and myself, again, thank you, and everybody have a great day.